Hey, this is Jeffrey Suey. So what's the easiest way to become a coach? Well, if you have been doing some coaching, or if you're an experienced coach, then you already know that becoming a coach is generally not very easy. So why would you even read an article or watch a video about the easiest way to become a coach? Well, we all want to make things as easy as possible, there's no doubt about it. And I want to take the shortest path towards getting my ultimate goal. But if you really want to be a coach, if that's a desire that you have, then you got to know that the things in life that we desire, that we want most of all, that we have longing for, are usually the things that are not very easy to get our hands on. Now, beyond that, however, there's some important understandings that you need to know to make this at least quickly come true, to know how to become a coach. Now, that may not be the easiest path, but it definitely doesn't have to take a long time. So the first thing that you want to know is that there are 4 levels of learning. And the first level of learning is intellectual knowledge. So learning the information. And you can get this from a book or watching a video like this, things like that. And unfortunately, intellectual knowledge and about $3.50 nowadays, I guess, gets you a cup of coffee. I don't go to Starbucks, so I don't know what it costs now. But that's the problem, is that knowledge alone doesn't really cause you to become a master at something, and it won't make you a coach. So yes, get the knowledge, but that's just a foundation for the next level, which is learning by doing, experiential learning. And that's the level that, when I created our training at JTS Advisors, and I said, I know the greatest way that people are going to learn is not just by learning this stuff, it's going to be by actually doing it, getting out there and doing it from day one. And so that's what I'd advise you to do, is get 5 coaching clients right now. Even if you aren't going to charge them, you need to be coaching every single week. And that's experiential mastery. Even beyond that, however, you can try to coach and do it over and over again and still kind of make the same mistakes. So the next level of learning is getting feedback, is learning what you're doing well and what you're not doing so well. Just the awareness alone that you kind of screwed something up will allow you to focus your attention on what aspects you need to get better at so you can start to improve those things. Because you can't focus on everything. I mean, if you just focus on every aspect of coaching, there's some areas that you really don't need to work on because you're already naturally good at it. There's some areas that you need a lot of work. And so those are the areas that you need to figure out which ones they are, and the way that you do that is getting feedback from your clients. And that's something that I made sure we included in our coaches training, is I give you 4 clients, and then they actually score you on every single coaching session that you give them. But you can do this yourself as well. So beyond that, there's one last level of learning, which is the apprenticeship process. The apprenticeship process. Hundreds of years ago, if you wanted to learn to be a blacksmith, let's say, you would find a blacksmith that's practicing in town, and you would work for them, and you would be the apprentice. And you would watch them all day, and then you would start to take on a couple tasks at a time, and they would really hold your hand with the hammer and have you hammer with them. They would kind of make you do it just the right way, right from day one, and you'd constantly be able to communicate and soak up and be around the master. And so that's the final level of learning. If you really want to get great, yeah, get the intellectual mastery. Yes, go practice. Yes, get feedback. But finally, hang out with the best coaches in the world. Commune and rub elbows with the masters. You must do that to become the best. But that loop of seeing it and doing it, hearing it and doing it, being guided in new techniques and then going and using them, creates that learning process that is just incredible. So those are the 4 different levels of learning. Intellectual knowledge, learning by doing, experiential, feedback and awareness, and then finally the apprenticeship process, actually communing with the masters as well. So make sure that if you're going to get trained, or if you're going to work with a company, that they provide those 4 different levels of learning for you. Now beyond that, as you're on this journey, there are certain things that you need to work on that are even beyond just the situations of learning. And they're the 3 levels of mastery. The first level of mastery is memorization. Copying what somebody else is doing and just doing the same exact thing. It sounds kind of boring, but the reason why this level of mastery is so important is because, even though you probably have some natural knowledge and some natural ability in an area, the masters do it better than everyone else. That's what defines them as masters. So if you simply take what they're doing and do exactly what that is, then you will replicate similar results. Maybe not the same results, because they're not you, but similar results. I remember in music school, I'm a professional musician as well, we would learn scales. And this is just learning every single note on the instrument that you're playing, and you have to learn it in a row and learn the absolute basics. And we had like 20, 30 different scales that we had to learn, and we would play those every single day. And so that's what I would suggest that you do. When you're learning a new technique or a new way of coaching, a new model, script it out in outline form and memorize it word for word. Or at least have an outline of that model so you know you can talk through it with no problem if the words don't escape you. But if you have challenges with the words, you got to learn this stuff word for word. So that's the first level of mastery. It's just basic rote memorization. Now, in music school, what happened is once we memorized the scales and got those notes under our fingers, so to speak, we would then learn patterns, ways of arranging those scales such that they became melodies and songs. And then we would learn how to kind of juxtapose those patterns in pseudo-improvisations. They weren't really improvisations. They were more things that we were very quickly composing because we had all the pieces of the puzzle to put together. So we started assembling things. And this is the next level for you, is to take multiple things that you've already memorized and then start to assemble those in processes that give larger results than just the little technique alone. So there's probably 3 different techniques that if you really know those techniques, you could assemble them very quickly, put them together, and create a larger result for your client. So the second level of mastery is assembly. The final level of mastery is where you forget about all that and you just do it. And that's when you get into the zone. Then you get to a certain point where it's almost limiting for you to have to go assemble things and think of it logically. And if you just put yourself in the state of mind when you were able to naturally assemble things quickly, if you start to think back to a time where you didn't even have to think about it, you just changed someone's life, and things just came through you. You were the conduit, so to speak, of success or of the coaching or of the wisdom that was needed from for your client. And if you can become that, then you're in this certain zone and things just assemble themselves. And that is a matter of, as one of the great musicians, Charlie Parker, once said, they made a big movie about him called Bird. And one of the things that he said in an interview was, I practiced for about 5 years, for about 14 hours a day. So he basically, every waking moment for about 4 or 5 years, he did nothing but practice. But then he said at the end of that, he said, practice like crazy, but then after that, just forget about all that and just play. And that's what you're going to do. You're going to forget about all the things that you learned at one point, and you're going to get into this state of mind. And you're just going to play. You're going to enter into being the artist of sculpting or of playing the song of your client. You're going to enter into being the one who can sculpt your client's soul, so to speak. And it's going to be automatic for you. It's going to be natural for you, and it will truly flow. So again, learn the basics, memorize those, assemble them into patterns, and then go into the zone, forget about that stuff, and just coach, and you will reach that level of mastery. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see more videos like this one, and you also would like to get some even longer ones where we cover the really high-level techniques and how to build your coaching practice to $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, and beyond, just go to coachestrainingblog.com and opt in, and then you can get about what's amounted to, at this point, probably about 20 to 30 hours worth of training videos where we actually outline these techniques in much more detail and give you visuals that will describe every essence of it, and you can start this mastery process for yourself. Take care until then.